What is up, denizens of the interwebs? It's Chaz here coming at you with another video, and as you can tell, I'm at a different location because I'm home for a break. Sorry if this is all a little janky because nothing seems to be working right now, so I'll get that worked out. But we had a major announcement from the game that just keeps on giving, Dragon Age the Veilguard, where we have a bunch of the early reviews coming out, and they are atrocious. Even the reviews that are worded to be incredibly positive, with the exception of IGN's, is incredibly negative, and we've had several different leaks come out today that's showing that the game is in an absolutely horrible state that is just filled to the brim with modern day politics that do not belong anywhere in a Dragon Age game. So like, subscribe, and let's get into this. Alright, the first point I'm going to go over is this article from Bounding into the Comic written by Nicola Patchstick. BioWare reportedly withholding Dragon Age the Veilguard review codes from creators who were a bit more critical than others with our hands on time. They seem to have delegated out the review codes for the full game based on how people seem to have responded to the initial release that they were given. With one user, Wolfheart FPS, and claiming that him and along with two other creators who were a bit more critical than others with our hands-on time with Dragon Age the Veilguard, not a single one of us will be getting a review code with the time to actually give opinions before release. Just thought I would throw that out there. Now, of course, that's not at all a guarantee that he would have gotten a review code to begin with, but the fact that he didn't is a little concerning given the fact that he seems to have a history of getting some. Please keep in mind, folks, that this does not mean that my more critical opinion is better or more truthful than those who have been more positive. I'm just simply pointing out how marketing works. This also doesn't mean the game will be bad, but it's something to consider. Though it pretty much does mean it's going to be bad. If you cannot trust negative reviews, and therefore you only have the ability to overly inflate reviews by people who will be overly positive, then that tells me that the game has a lot of glaring issues that you're trying to hide. And as Bashtik has pointed out, BioWare has done every single thing they could to make this game as accessible to those unfamiliar with the franchise as possible, like getting rid of spiders so they don't have to worry about an arachnophobia mode, and making this game's choices as meaningless as possible to make it as consumable as possible. The next article is coming from John of Trent over at That Park Place. New Dragon Age the Veilguard gameplay confirms game is ultra woke. Now, for those who are going to be major bad faith, keep in mind, woke is not being used because the game is diverse. It's not woke because there are gay characters in it, though that certainly plays a part given how the gay characters are put into the game. It's not woke because there are POCs. None of that makes the game woke. It is how they are utilized that decides whether or not the game is woke. As earlier this month, a playtester broke his NDA to give a bunch of information to the YouTuber Nura that included a whole bunch of early stuff in the game, like dialogue options and some things that are said from a couple of the NPCs. That is absolutely disgusting to see in this game. For instance, where one of the Kunari, Tash, has in a direct dialogue, in a direct piece of dialogue, non-binary, just said, "I'm going to use they instead of she from now on." And that kind of language doesn't belong whatsoever in a Dragon Age game. Hard stop. And it seems from what we've been shown early on that this kind of dialogue is completely filled throughout the entirety of Dragon Age. Such as in this dialogue option where it seems to relate to the scars that you get when you look into a mirror, and it shows you a whole bunch of things such as gender identity options, where you can massively expand upon the gender identity of your character. Which some of the dialogue you can choose are, "I'm getting there, I love who I am, feels good to see the real me back," or establishes transgender identity and unlocks new dialogue options in future conversations. I love the fact that they lock a significant amount of the game behind the transgender identity, like how there was the claim that dating options was heavily limited in regards to the fact of whether or not your character was cis or not. Where if you had a cisgendered character, your dating options were significantly limited compared to the non-binary or transgender rooks. Which is just one step further into really trying to force this kind of identity down players' throats and trying to encourage it amongst them in such a way that is highly toxic and highly dangerous for a lot of people in the modern day. And something that Nura commented, "For anyone still on the fence about what I mean when I say this game is woke, and it will let you know at every single turn, having diverse characters is not being woke. Having fantasy characters use modern day language is being woke." And that's the problem. It's not that there are gay characters, it's that they're calling themselves non-binary, which is a wholly modern idea that didn't exist prior to the turn of the century. Nura also commented that BioWare is dead and the shills have killed it. Another piece of dialogue that comes with this game is Nev, who I assume to be this person, and Tash, who is the Kunari over here. Some of my friends in Minrathos talk about not feeling comfortable in their own skin as a man, as a woman. Once again, something that wouldn't be in a game set in the Dragon Age world. That's not there. That's not something that would exist in this universe. And once again, just goes to show another point where they're just trying to pander every single chance they can. And let's be very clear about this. This is all being done to pander to us. And by us, I do mean members of the LGBT community, which unfortunately I am a part of. This is something that I am, and the fact that they're trying to bait me into playing the game, into loving the game, because I must relate to it for some godforsaken reason, so deeply rooted in inherently homophobic ideology and an idea of complete narcissism. That because I can see it myself, I must absolutely be someone who has to play this game, because seeing yourself must be the only thing that's important, when in reality, the last thing I want to do is see myself when playing a game. I want to see the characters and the world. Where one of the narcissistic developers at this game, Corrine Bush, a openly trans woman who has claimed that the game franchise is inherently very queer, which is just wrong, inherently. That's just a wrong statement. But she had said that I have a perspective on the games that not everyone has. Dragon Age has long been a place where LGBTQIA+, just the first three letters, folks can see the people like themselves, represented respectfully. It's inherently very queer, and such a rare thing for marginalized communities to have representation where we feel proud and powerful in how we are depicted. You know how you know if your player character is queer in Dragon Age? You choose options that match it. That's it. In past Dragon Age games, most NPCs were player sexual, meaning you could romance most characters, and you couldn't always romance everyone, because guess what? A character will likely have their own programmed sexuality, and it's kind of inherently wrong to try and force the game to change that, just like how Cyberpunk had it, where you could not change the sexuality of other characters, and therefore you could only mate with characters who had the same sexuality. But it's just such a narcissistic worldview where they don't care about representation. They don't care about making other people seen. They care about being in the game and being a game that's only for them. This isn't a game made for everyone. This is a game made for these developers. And then Smash JT decided to do something kind of funny where it asked AI to summarize Dragon Age the veilguard reviews, and, well, it's kind of funny what he got. Basically, given the fact that the majority of the reviewers are all heavily deep into the LGBTQI whatever the fuck ideology, all of their reviews are heavily mentioning all that stuff. You know, even the IGN review has the person who wrote the review mention the fact that as a non-binary person myself, what cringe. And what was it Smash JT managed to find with all of these absolutely hilariously bad reviews? Well, the only thing the AI bothered to mention whatsoever was sex. It was all about the sexuality of the game. How it allowed for players to engage in same-sex romances and flirtation across various characters. How it's a milestone in LGBTQIA+ inclusion. None of these things have anything to do with gameplay, narrative, the actual technological advancements, how the game performs. All it is it's about sex. Because that's all the people who made this game are about. They don't give a crap about diversity. They don't give a crap about equity. They care about seeing themselves seen in the game. They care about seeing themselves pandered to and represented. That's all these people care about. This is not a game made for the modern audience. This isn't a game made for any audience, actually. The audience of this game is an audience of 20. This game is made for the people who made the game. So these people can get their fetishizations out through the game. This has nothing to do with the players. The gameplay is consequential. These people should have just gone and made a dating sim. It would have been a much cheaper game to make. Hell, you could have made the Dragon Age dating sims that people who wanted to ignore it could ignore it, and the people who are narcissistic enough to have to play this could. And what's even funnier is looking at all the other reviews for this game, the kind that he put into the AI, it's still funny because none of them are positive. Going through this Kotaku review, very little of it is anything nice to say about the game, mostly just complimenting the different characters. The gamer review is also equally mostly negative, with almost nothing positive to say about the actual gameplay experience. With really the only positive things I'd say is that the companion quests are well written but formulaic, and that formulaic part means it's not even all that good. But at the same time, the game took a total of 65 hours to finish every single side quest for. Actually, that's pretty pathetic for a Dragon Age game. With Dragon Age Origins having a 100% completion time of 87 to 105 hours. I didn't take my time through Dragon Age Origins because I didn't like it too much. I didn't play the DLC, and I didn't do too many of the side objectives, and that still took me, I think, 60 hours to get to that point. This is an absolutely depressingly small campaign for a game that's supposed to be the next big thing in Dragon Age. For all the positive reviews this game is getting, I'm not seeing a single positive thing about it. Like, they talk about the fact that this game forces you into the narrative without any kind of justification for it happening that way. Nothing in this review gives it a 4.0 out of 5. There's nothing about that whatsoever that would even hint to that being the score this game should be getting, yet somehow that is what this game got. Everything I'm saying about this game is objectively not good, but we're just being gaslit into the actual value of the review. The only review that came out as even remotely positive throughout the actual course of the review is this one from IGN, where they gave it a 9 out of 10, which is aggressively over the top positive. Where the only thing they even mention about the game realistically is down here where they talk about how it's such a good representative game. And let me tell you, this game is not representative of anyone, especially not of the LGBT community. This is only representative of the narcissists who made it. So this game is just, of course, an absolute dumpster fire. It looks bad, it sounds bad, it doesn't even seem to play well. Even the camera parts about the game are bad. The only thing that anyone is bothering to praise is the fact that you can have sex with anyone you want in the game, and the fact that the game is so aggressively pro-LGBT that playing it might as well constitute as hormonal replacement therapy in real life. It looks boring, it sounds boring, and it just is such an aggressively pandering game that I can't believe that someone thinks this is a positive thing. The way that it does its pandering, it really more feels like it's trying to be more insulting. The way I feel like when I'm reading that dialogue is I'd rather someone just call me the F slur and get it over with. This feels like a long con designed to make me feel like I'm being represented, but instead I'm being insulted. As this is the most meme-worthy version of the LGBT community. It's like if you asked a bunch of Gen Alphas to make the most brain-rot version of our community, that's what you get from this game, and I'm sick and tired of people claiming that this is what's going to represent people like me, when it has nothing to do with any of us. Like I said, the only people this game is going to represent are the people who designed the game, because it was made by a bunch of narcissists. They're just trying to put their fetishizations out for everyone else to look at, and force everyone else to engage in it. This game doesn't represent me or the community, and it's just an absolutely disgusting waste of $70, and I cannot wait for BioWare to deal with the absolute consequence of putting this shit out there when they go out of business or are forced to be bought out. But that's pretty much what I've got, so I will see you guys on the next one.